Welcome to Keith and the Girl. I'm Keith Malley.
I'm Chemda.
Chemda, I see people show pictures of their mystery boxes,
Yeah.
and I'm excited.
Yeah, it's really nice.
We packed it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's right. That's what I packed.
So the mystery box, I don't know if you guys know, but at the end of the year, we have to move studios. So this is the last couple of months that we're going to be recording in this studio. So we're starting to clean up a little bit. We're starting to, gather some stuff, get rid of some garbage. And then we have this stuff that it means a lot, but we can't take it with us.
Maybe it's a Keith and the Girl banner that we had in Las Vegas,
right,
on
on
the
New Year's
strip,
Eve.
that kind of thing.
Yeah.
All kinds of things. Maybe it's equipment that I was using. Another podcaster found that in their mystery box, and that helps them out a lot. I'm very excited. So we pack these boxes, we ship them out to you, and surprise.
Yeah. So if you're interested in some, like what we're calling it is artifacts, because that's science, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you're interested in that, go to keithandthegirl.com/store and, get a little piece of this studio before we move.
Right. We'll do these boxes until the end of the month. So.
Yeah, because then we have to really start packing.
Right. Ladies and gentlemen, today's guest, by the way, Chemda, one of the shows that this guest was on was when we talked about Landmark, the self-help seminar, if you will, that I went to. And I was hearing it with
After your divorce.
Right. And I was hearing it with my girlfriend on our devices separately but together. Mm-hmm. So fun.
Yeah, this is another, there's a few guests that seem to, Casey James Lango is one of them. There's a few guests that seem to come in the middle of chaos in the Keith and the Girl world, and they sit down and they go, all right, what fucking nutty times are you having now?
Right.
And I think this is one of them.
Specifically, it was episode 2699, Landmark. It's almost 2 hours. I think you'll dig it. Anyway, here she is, your favorite, my favorite, Reena Calm.
Hello. Oh
Hello.
my gosh, it's an honor to be here at this crazy time, of course. You know?
It's very exciting to see you.
You too.
Everyone adores you. I follow your social media. I have
need
so
this.
many questions. Twitter and Instagram, you can follow too. Reena, Reena, Calm, Calm. Mm-hmm. And when I look at the different times you've been on the show, I look at the show notes and I see one from 2017, 2 years ago. Reena's Jewish parents love Trump is the only note
wow.
there.
That was probably the last time I was here was a Landmark episode, right?
That was before that.
Oh,
yeah.
before that. Okay.
But yeah. And are they still Trump fans? Is this driving you nuts?
You know what? It's changed everything for sure. About my comedy, about family dynamics. So much has changed in the last few years.
Where are your parents?
They are my father's in Massachusetts and my mother is in Texas, which is where I have all my stuff stashed away now. So I go there semi-regularly. A lot has changed in how we talk to each other, how we communicate, how I look at communicating with especially audience members, and where I choose to do comedy now is a lot based on trying to go places where I know they don't agree with me. But unfortunately, all my parents still support Trump, which I don't understand, but
it blows your mind.
Yeah.
There's a comic, Sarah Beatty, and she says, I'm hearing some Trump voters saying, hey, look, I'm realizing now the guy's a little out there, and I'm sorry. And she says, but it's like, if you're sorry that you had sex with a dog, it's like, okay, but you're the kind of person that likes to fuck dogs.
That's funny. But you know what I realized? I didn't know this because it never occurred to me because my parents are not even in the country. They're in Israel, that my parents are Trump supporters.
Yeah.
And a lot of Israelis are. And there was a statue erected of him in their neighborhood, and they were thrilled about it. No. And just now, as you were talking, I was like,
what is going on that there's a statue of Donald Trump in the Holy Land?
Yeah, because he moved the consulate to Jerusalem, and so everyone's thrilled, and it's like, so the people who don't believe in statues, as a thing, remember what happened in the desert, folks?
Right.
Remember 40 Days and 40 Nights? Okay. So they love the statue, but what I was thinking is, of all the things that Trump said, grab him by the pussy, I can kill someone in the middle of Times Square or wherever it was in Manhattan. My parents like that dude more than me.
Right.
They don't talk to me, but they're happy about a statue of this dude. Everything that comes out of my mouth is pure garbage that embarrasses the shit out of them. But Trump does good? Okay, then I officially resign as your daughter. Like, no, you don't stop talking to me. I stop talking to you.
You can't fire me. I quit.
But I don't know why. It just dawned on me, this person who has only said terrible things about human beings in general, never mind that, you're racist.
Oh, it's
and you're,
beyond logic. I mean, the
Yeah.
weekend. I remember after after the election and the initial shock of realizing who voted. I mean, my dad is. It's all about Israel for him, so that makes sense. Even
it's
though
all
it
about
doesn't.
Israel while he lives where?
In Massachusetts.
Okay.
So that
I love these Zionists.
right.
Right.
Disturbed me the most when I was in Israel, I did one of the birthright trips, and we went to the Western Wall the last day, and people say, like, it's really emotional. Don't be surprised if you get, like, verklempt. And I did. I, like, cried when I was there. And then I remember seeing an image in the news after the election projected of Donald Trump being projected onto the Western Wall. And I'm like, that has to be a problem for somebody, right? That has to
Wow.
be, it's like the holiest place in the world, and
Oh
that
my
has to be, like,
God.
not okay with somebody, right?
So you Jews, and I'm not targeting. I'm just targeting you today. Tomorrow it'll be somebody else.
Yeah.
But you Jews in Israel, you're perfectly comfortable. Like, by the way, at the Wailing Wall, you have to have a skirt that's longer than your knees. If you don't, they will provide you something. You have to cover your head. You have to, like, there are a lot of rules.
But
And
they love the
you're
guy that
okay.
banged a porn star.
Yeah, you're okay with everything that he does. You're okay with the Miss Universe stuff. You're okay with grabbing by the pussy. You're okay with this fucking egomaniac
Yeah.
as a culture and a religion that thrives on, like, no, it's like a humility thing.
Yeah.
It's, it's believing, it's sacrificing, it's everything that I was taught was like, make sure that you're nice to other people. But down with Mexicans, down with black people.
Or
I'll
mentally
shoot you.
handicapped people. Let's make fun of them while we're at it.
Yeah.
Let's make fun of the developmentally disabled while we're at it.
And my parents are immigrants. He's fucking closing the border. Good morning. Good morning. How do you think we got here? If Trump was in power now, you think your fucking asses would be in? Why are people trying to be friends with people who hate them?
Well, so here's the thing. This is like, it's so difficult to understand to the point where you can't understand it.
Oh, yeah.
Like you can't, there's no logic. It doesn't make sense. And I'm trying to understand how we can exist in the same world and truly see it so differently, where, like, my sister, is a Trump supporter, also still a gun advocate. Like, her and her husband are, like, gun nuts.
Are they in Texas?
They're in Massachusetts. And we were talking about it, having kind of like a good conversation, productive conversation about it. And thinks she's, better than some of the people who support Trump, because she's like, well, I don't think he's great. Like, I'd rather have Ben Carson. And I'm like, what are you talking about? How could you? Did you see a sloth at the zoo and you're like, that guy?
Ben Carson, of all things, because honestly, he might be worse, which is hard to say.
I mean, so I don't understand her perception, like her ability to perceive him as a better option or a smarter choice than Trump.
Is this Hillary Clinton's fault for debating Donald Trump? Period. For saying, hey, this is a person.
I mean,
You know what I mean?
possibly. I don't know. I mean, then I brought up Elizabeth Warren to her, and she got just as grossed out as I was when she brought up Ben Carson. And that blew my mind, because it's like, how are we looking at the same people and seeing them so differently?
I think because they see us as naive, which I think, if you look at the rhetoric that, the timeline of the people opposing you are looking at, you can sort of like see the timeline of how your mind would be warped.
Yeah.
It's hard to decide that at our age with, like, the amount of information that comes to us. But I think you kind of get into this bubble.
Well, so conservatives are proven scientifically to have a larger receptor for fear in their brain. And that is the same part of your brain that expands as you grow older. So old people scientifically become more afraid of the world around them or change.
But there's also a lot of fear, out there. Like, there's a lot, even billboards like God is coming and shit like that. That's even like an extreme thing. But I remember growing up, and it was, the cracked egg on the really hot skillet, and they say this is your brain on drugs. That, honestly, and I don't even know if I should be embarrassed by this or something, but I believed it so hard, and it took me so long.
Somebody had a joke about that, about, like, this is your brain on drugs. Like, what, delicious? Like, better than a regular egg?
It just shows that the person's hungry. This guy has the munchies. He stirs up the egg, puts in little peppers.
Yeah, that egg was doing nobody any good, and now you made lunch,
Well, let's talk about this, because you seem to have, you have a smart brain.
Thank you. That's what sounds like something Donald Trump would say. But
Before he stabs you with something.
he would say it about himself, so it means a lot coming from someone else.
But as a comedian, and you're on the road a lot, right?
Yeah, I live on the road now.
You literally
Yeah. Well, I mean, in a car.
in a car.
Yeah.
You have a whole bed set up, that kind of thing. You'll sleep in a tent, right? You'll sleep in Walmart parking lots.
There's
this
no
kind of
room
thing.
for the tent anymore now that I have the bed set up in there.
Okay.
But yeah, I have, and yeah.
Is it bad? Because I don't know what got you to this place, but
Right.
Question.
however, I'm just like, oh, that's like one of my dreams.
See, that's the initial reaction.
Okay.
And that's fair because it's same with me, I guess.
That was my initial reaction when I was 18.
No, but I mean, you guys are talking about having to move in a couple of months. I had to like very abruptly leave my apartment in Chicago, and I kind of had this idea of doing like van life. So I figured, okay, well, now I have to move out the end of the year, so let's just go for it. And
you travel a lot anyway.
yeah, so that's my first thing whenever people like kind of have a romantic view of what I'm doing specifically is that I'm showing like really cool stuff that I'm doing. I'm not showing videos of me taking shits in Walmarts and like all the changes I've had to make to like my diet to make sure those are efficient shits, like there's a lot that goes into it that's not glamorous or fun, or training myself, literally doing long distance drive training. I drove from Chicago to Austin a couple weeks ago.
How long did that take?
I left Thursday after my show at
No,
like
when
2
you say the
a.m..
name of the day, I
Yeah.
left Thursday.
I left
No.
Thursday night at 2 a.m. I drove a few hours, slept a few hours at a Walmart. And that's a whole thing, too. You can't just go to any Walmart. There's a system.
You got to go to the Super Walmart.
You got to go to a...
We've been on tour.
Yeah. Pick a rich town. Pick a town that doesn't need a Walmart. Anyway, it's... And I've made mistakes there, too. But at any rate, like, I drove
What do you
all
mean,
of
like
Friday.
a dangerous place?
No, just like looked up a town in Oklahoma that it looked like they had low crime stats was what I used to look at.
Okay.
And it wasn't until this night in Tulsa that I realized low crime stats means the police are just working harder.
I see. Like you'll get in trouble for something.
Right. Yeah.
You were arrested in the parking lot.
That was where I got arrested in a parking lot.
For what?
Well, that's a good one. Technically,
Just for the record, really quick, when we went on tour like 3 years ago, 4 years ago,
Yeah.
and we were on a tour bus that had a bathroom and a shower, but you can't shit there, and
Right.
you need like real running water for a second.
Right,
We actually were planning, and we did do it. We heard that Walmart is totally fine with big caravans and like and tour buses, and they were totally fine. You could see like other buses at the edge of the Walmart.
oh yeah, I always
parking
look
lot.
for that. If there's other people camped out, then I feel a lot better about that Walmart.
And we every morning we would like go and do our morning routine in the Walmart bathroom and everything. It actually was really good. Nobody bothered us, and it's a very, very common thing. So when you say I slept at a Walmart, people who cross the United States do that a lot.
Absolutely. I think that you have to be careful about which Walmart. Definitely, like some of them don't allow it. They'll have signs up that say don't allow. There's a website that has all like the no park Walmarts listed, and I always check that. And also, if you're there like for more than a few days, somebody might be like, "Hey,
Yeah.
why don't you keep it moving?"
So what happened this time?
Well, I also just wanted to say though, like back to the point of like people wanting to do this, like have a reason. Like I would say have a reason to do it. Because
But what is your reason? Because you're performing
touring
anyway?
and doing
Okay.
the shows and just making it work with. It doesn't make sense for me to pay for an apartment that I'm not at.
Is it ever a bummer, like trying to date or that kind of thing?
Yes, 100%,
Okay.
for sure. But I'm recommitted to the lifestyle for now, so
Right.
I've made peace with those deficits, if that makes sense.
Do you
Like,
keep it a secret on a date?
what date?
Okay. So do you know you're going to take a time out anyway, or dating's just not working out?
No, I've really sectioned myself off and compartmentalized my interests to not even consider dating an option right now.
Okay.
Because I don't want anything casual, or hooking up with strangers on the road is super unappealing. And I've had a couple close ones recently that I'm like, I should have been more fun that night. And
Well, congrats. You lost a large amount of weight,
I
right?
did, yeah.
And now for what?
I know, right? Nobody to flex on. I stopped drinking also, so that's also made it hard to think about having casual sex with anybody. As I'm just like, well, I'm really here.
Right.
Very present.
I can hear everything.
Why are men not impressive? I must be going through a phase.
Oh, I can see you so clearly.
In so many ways.
Yeah. Oh, man. You are this dumb?
So you want to come over to my place? No, I'd rather sleep in my car.
I really... Well, so back to Tulsa. There was a comic in Tulsa that had offered me his couch that night, too. And something about being on the road so many days in a row, sometimes you really just do need your own space. And staying with people is always nice. But then you also have to kind of do it their way, like if they want to hang out and chat or whatever. And he's super nice. We would have had a great time, but I needed to go have cramps at a Walmart parking lot. Like the first time
That's such a quote.
Yeah. The first time I ever stayed at a Walmart was in Tulsa. And it was because I was getting my period. And I was like, I'd forgotten to plan a place to stay. And I did like a joke about downloading Tinder to find a place to crash. And that's the only time I ever almost met somebody off Tinder was that night in Tulsa. But then I was just like, you know what? I'll just sleep in my car. You know, I'm not going to go over to this strange dude's house. And then I got my period in a Walmart parking lot. And so this time around, I was like, you know what?
But that's handy. You can buy your materials right there.
Yeah. And you kind of just want to, that's the hard part of road life is when you're like, oh, I kind of just need a place to be feral and fight out my inner demons right now.
Is it exciting that you know what the layouts of the Walmart? Like you walk in, where's your aisle 10?
Yeah, and also you can tell a lot about the town you're in by like what they have more of. Like, oh, a lot of nightgowns, racist town. It is a very racist area of Ohio. Sure, a lot of grandmas here. Yep, a lot of racist grandmas.
Oh, you look like you're in an old haunted house with a gown to the end and like your shower cap sort of hat.
I understand like a section for those people, but this was like a section. Like they didn't have a rack. They had a whole area of nightgowns. I was like, wow, a lot of options for your racist house coat. Anyway.
So you're cramping up.
I'm cramping up, so I went camping up, and I was like, let's go to this Walmart, and I had bad feelings about it. Like, even the pictures I took that night in Tulsa were like, the last picture I took was a picture of Johnny Cash's mugshot on the wall of this bar.
Okay.
And the other things were like a picture of a donut shop, Hertz Donut, and like other stuff another mural that said, "You'll survive," and things that were just like something in me like saw disaster headed my way, but I didn't stop it. Right. Anyway, I was taking a snooze, or I was about to.
And this is in the bed in the back of your car? Or
this
not
is
yet?
Before I had the bed in there. I was in the front, and so before I had the build in there, because at this time I had saved up a bunch of money. I had a bunch of cash on me, which ended up being part of the problem. They thought I was up to no good. I was going to buy like a minivan in Texas. I was on my way down there to buy that van. And I'm glad I have the Prius now for gas mileage and, you know, all that stuff. But they thought me having like all that cash was suspicious.
Wait, how did this start?
How it started was he pulled somebody over off the road.
Obviously.
The cop,
Okay.
yeah. And I was just parked and I was about to go to sleep. Okay, technically was I was masturbating.
Yeah.
100%.
Well, now the dating makes sense.
I don't know how to. I was in a relationship at the time too. He was not there,
Okay.
but that's more about the period than my relationship status. That was more like, okay, we're gonna.
What's on the radio in these towns? You know what I mean?
On the radio?
Yeah, what kind of music do you?
I was streaming X-video porn on my. Anyway,
Were you really with like blood on your hands?
No, I hadn't gotten it yet.
Okay.
Does any other ladies feel like maybe if I can have an orgasm, if I can just push this whatever's in me out, get a release going, it'll just jumpstart the
the period.
bloodbath. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so fun.
Yeah, Keith has a thing like you ever pull a period out?
Yeah. That's a thing.
Yeah.
I've had my period pulled out or whatever. I have had my period for sure.
I could see as Reena said that she's like, oh, why am I saying that?
Yeah. No, but yeah, for sure.
I feel like we should arrest her.
No, but don't they say that like for pregnant women, if you're like trying to like kickstart labor, you should have sex because it just like, I don't know.
Anyway. I think we all learned that on Friends, but okay.
Well, I peed on my leg, got it wrong. Another lesson I learned from Friends. I'm just kidding.
Oh my God. Oh, I see. Like, what is happening at this Walmart?
Yeah.
Okay.
The cop pulls this guy over. I'm in the middle of myself, and I had a vibrator going, and I dropped it. And so I'm like, oh my God, like I can see the lights there's t-shirts covering my windows, okay? But
Oh, that's weird.
I can see the lights kind of popping through the cracks of the t-shirts covering everything, and this vibrator is just flopping around on the floor, and I'm like, oh God, oh God. And I got it turned off, and then I figured I should probably like pop my head out of here so that he knows I'm just like a lady in her car, not like, I don't know what could be going on in here. So I like popped my head out and took some of the t-shirts down so I didn't look as suspicious. You could see that I was just a person in the car, and that was in a panic. Anyway, I still looked very suspicious, so he came up and was like, it smells like medical marijuana in here. And
it smells like medical marijuana in here.
yeah, when I rolled down my window, and
Is medical legal? Why
medical's legal there. And so
Okay.
I just knew that, and also I knew that my car stank. I
Of
knew,
weed?
Yeah, and that was a thing of the guy that I'd been dating was always like, didn't like the air freshener stuff or Febreze going on. I always thought that was kind of gross. So like, I just kind of got used to the smell of weed in the car.
Good job, X.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's
Real
my
smart.
fault. That's my fault for like, you know, letting him have that.
Right.
Breathing well.
So what do you say? Do you say, no, it's not medical, it's recreational?
No, it's meth. I just have stinky meth. No, I thought it would. I really just.
Why did he
knew-
come up to your window? Wasn't he
I-
busy with this other dude he pulled over?
He pulled somebody over as their lights weren't on. I think he came up to my window because I had out of state plates. I had temporary plates from Ohio at the time. So he probably was just like, okay. I've heard cops in Oklahoma are real dicks about that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I just knew that it was going to be worse for me if I lied to him. Like, he obviously smelled it.
Right.
So I was like, yeah, I did smoke earlier, but I don't have any. And then I even showed him like my empty weed jar.
Oh,
Fun fact, I was actually staying there overnight instead of driving away from Tulsa so that I could get some weed in the morning. I was going to get...
Did you share that too?
No, I told him way too much. And
I understand that logic though, because you do hear a lot of people. It's like, well, they told the truth, and then you seem less suspicious, and you know the cops might not want to deal with you anyway. And like you said, it's like,
Right.
hey, I'm a woman alone in a parking lot. Like maybe I get a pass for that. You know?
Well, my parents taught me well, you know, the just tell me the truth and I won't be angry. And then
Right.
surprise, surprise, they're angry.
Yeah.
So.
yeah.
Yeah.
No,
But
my
you never
lawyer,
know.
he's told me that my biggest mistake was being honest with the police.
No.
And I mean, I learned that lesson, but it's kind of a messed up lesson, you know? Like, you're not supposed I thought it would be like the responsible citizen thing to do, to be like, yeah, I have smoked pot. I don't have any, you know, I'm just here sleeping.
And then what's he do?
Then he arrested me.
What did he say?
Well, so first he said, okay, well, we're going to bring the dog over here. And
And see if the dog agrees with you. Do you know what I mean? I just said I did.
Well, she said she didn't have any, so if the
I
dog
see.
can smell
well, I
it,
said like I had like
Residual.
nothing, yeah. And so he's like, the dog's gonna come smell the car, put the weed that you had or whatever paraphernalia where so we can see where the dog is or whatever. And
was there a dog with him?
there was another guy showed up, an officer with a dog, and then the dog, I put like the paraphernalia that I had on top of like where the window was open, and the dog did not react to that at all. Was like jumping all over the car. But all they need is for the dog to jump on the car at all, then they can search your car. So he said,
And
here's what
meanwhile, they train the
Sure.
dog to
right,
jump
they
on
just
the
train
car,
the dog
yeah.
to jump on cars. The dog doesn't even smell the drugs. Anyway, he said, we're going to issue a field sobriety test, and if you've passed that, you can just stay here until you're okay to drive. And I'm like, okay, great. I'm not messed up. I'd smoked a little bit of weed. I was like, there's no way I'll fail this test.
Also, with a little bit of like, how much weed would you not pass that test? You can touch your nose. Is that the test?
Yeah, and also like I'd literally smoked like half of a joint an hour ago, and if anything, I was like terrified, like shaking from nerves, and I had also been caught masturbating. So
Oh,
like, he
right.
didn't catch that, but like that's the mindset I was in, of just like the fear of that panic, and yeah, and also like half asleep too, by the way. And so anyway, he did the sobriety test, and
Did you pass?
no, he said that I failed, which I really didn't believe, because
What part did you fail?
I don't know. I mean, he said that they are trained to test for specific things, and I had to like stand on one foot for a while, and I'd been working on my balance, and I held up one foot for longer than I ever do at the gym. And anyway,
He lied.
yeah, I mean, they had everything they needed to arrest me, and it's all about money is what it comes down to. They knew they could make money off of me, and when they found out I had all this cash on me, they
How
were
much
like,
cash?
I only had like $600, not like all the cash I needed.
That's not even a lot. Like as a human being
Yeah.
traveling.
And I just had like 3 paid gigs in cash where I was like, that's what it was from, you know? And anyway, I had to go get a blood test done because.
Wait, you had a place to sleep that night now that you got arrested.
Bonus. And free pajamas. Turns out I look good in orange. I didn't know.
You had to wear the gear?
I got strip searched. I got put on lockdown for overnight. I didn't know if I couldn't get a hold of anybody as I didn't have anybody in Tulsa. So like everybody was hanging up on me. And then I found out afterwards.
What do you mean everybody was hanging up?
Like all of the bail bonds people were hanging up on me. Nobody would help. Like I'm like, hey, so I figure I have all this cash. Like, let's just go down, deal with this, give me the punishment, and I'll just, whatever it costs to get out of here, I'll be on my way. Until the end of it, I didn't find out that there was a way for me to access that cash. Like, they were like, you can't have that till you get out of here. So they were like calling my mom. Like, it was so crazy, but they couldn't get a hold of anybody in Tulsa. So they were basically like, yeah, you're going to be here for a week kind of thing.
God.
And
how long were you actually in there?
Like less than a full day, but like a day. And then I got out just in time to make it to my gig in Denton, Texas. And I did. I went there and I did a podcast.
Oh my God. Did you cry at any point inside the jail?
You were strip searched, right?
I was strip searched. Yeah, the squat and cough. It was horrible.
To see if you packed some up.
Some marijuana in my
Yeah.
I wish I got my period then. Oh, that would have been a power move. That would have been a power move. I did not.
I feel like police officers, like arresting people, you should feel the difference in the criminal that you have to strip search.
I mean, I think he felt bad a little bit that he didn't take my car. He left it in the Walmart parking lot. He's like, okay, after you get out, you can just come back and get your car. We won't have to deal with like taking it to the lot or whatever. So that's like, who knows, $1,000 probably.
How much did it cost you?
I'm still paying it off. It's going to be like $3,500 at the end of the day.
Wow.
And it's probably going to be recreational there by the time I'm done paying it off because medical is booming. You can't go down a single street without seeing a dispensary and all that stuff. So, yeah.
Wow, so they're arresting people before they can't.
Right, yeah.
Holy
And also
shit.
just like the money they make off of it is a business for them. There's certain states that will never make it legal because they make a fortune off of arresting people coming out of Colorado. So like Kansas, it's never going to be legal because it's a cash cow for them. And I mean, that's like, I want to find a way to talk about it at some point. That's funny. But like being in that experience and seeing the people I was in that courtroom with, like those people are stuck there. They are never getting out of that pattern in that system. And everybody in the jail was like dragged in on old stuff. And they can't afford to pay it off. I'm like proud of myself that I'm busting my ass to get it paid off. But yeah, it's very easy to not be able to do that, you know? And then get hired with a criminal record, you know? And
Right.
so yeah, these people Tulsa made me sad.
Yeah.
The comics were nice, but a lot of people on meth in that courthouse that are going to stay on meth, I think, you know?
Well, what's your incentive to get out? Yeah, I was just talking, that's so weird. I was just talking about this, like you're in the system where rape and gang violence, like you have to pick, you know, if you're white, you need to join basically the KKK in there.
Mm-hmm.
And then you need to start acting like a crazy person. And then you're actually committing crimes in there. So whether you came in there as a criminal or not.
Right.
I mean, nobody would tell me how to get out of there that worked there, you know? Like that made me feel like a very like privileged white lady of like, can I talk to the manager? Like whatever. But, you know, everybody that got arrested with me in the first room was wasted. And I'm like, wow, this has to be a lot better when you are actually wasted because I am like, this is vivid for me. I'm like very sober and I'm watching all of this. And then the strip search and everything, and it got really real. And yeah, I mean, none of the people that would work there would tell me anything I could do to get out or who to talk to. It was only other prisoners that were giving me any kind of advice or like who to call or which guy might help me or whatever.
Yeah, it doesn't happen like in the movies where it's like, I demand my one phone call.
Right. Okay.
I got arrested. They didn't tell me I was arrested. They put on cuffs and I'm like, wait, I'm being arrested? And they go, no.
Was that here?
Yeah. They said no.
For jumping a turnstile.
Yeah. And then they put me in the car and they're taking me to jail. And I'm like, but I'm not getting arrested? No.
What?
They fingerprint me it feels like I'm getting arrested.
I've seen it on TV.
No. They took my mugshot. I'm pretty sure I'm being arrested.
And they're still saying no?
Nope. And then they just locked me up and they left. And then I was like, hey, I was told I wasn't being arrested. And they were like, LOL, you're arrested. And I'm like, but, and then I'm like, okay, what about a phone call? They're like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Right.
They're like, you'll get to, and I'm like, okay, but they said I'm only going to be here for an hour. And they're like, there's no judge until the morning.
Oh my God.
So they basically said anything they wanted to say. And so you're just kind of like passed through. Of course, I cried, but I waited until I was alone. But
well, there's all these signs up before you go into wherever to like get any number you might need out of your phone. And so I got my mom's number, but that was the only number I got because I figured like, okay, well, I'll just get a hold of her and we'll take care of this. Like, she lent me the money to like pay my bail and all the stuff. She also paid way too much that she didn't have to. And
because you just panicked.
Yeah, and I could have gotten out of there for less is what I'm saying, and whatever. I'm so grateful, but what happened there is even calling my mom, her cell phone provider doesn't take collect calls. And so even to reach her, I'm hearing on my end in the prison all of the process of like, enter this number. Okay, here's what's happening. You're calling from the Tulsa County Correctional Facility, blah, 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 blah. And then it goes through a few minutes, it feels like, before you even get through to the phone number. And then it goes, not accepting collect calls from this provider. Please contact your provider. I'm like, well, the fuck I can. Like, can you tell her? Can you tell my mom to contact her provider? And then on her end, she didn't even know where I was or who was calling. She just knew she was getting a collect call and was so worried because she didn't know which kid or where, and she was looking at my tour flyer being like, well, she might be in Tulsa or somewhere between there and there. Like,
did you eat? There was breakfast. Oh man. I said this before, I didn't know that you can find such mushy, shitty bananas, but they found them. And it was like, you better eat them because in 5 minutes they'll actually be rotten.
Yeah.
So enjoy.
Well, I ate a ketchup sandwich because I haven't been eating meat for 2 years now. And I'm surely not going to start with prison hot dogs. And my roommate was like, oh, it's hot dog day. She's like, those are good. And they give them to you with a slice of white bread. She's like, hot dogs are pretty good, but that ketchup is nasty. I'm like, I'll have that.
Oh, she was so thrilled that you gave her the hot dog, I assume.
Yeah, I made some friends giving out meat. and
is that it? Wait, is this a euphemism?
No.
So I gave her the hot dog.
They had like a family meeting on my cell block when I got there. And I was like, I'd been on lockdown. Somebody stole a pen on my unit. So the whole unit was on lockdown.
Well, because that's a weapon, right?
Right. Yeah. And I was just dying to get to a phone. And I'm like watching the clock. It's hours after they said we'd be out of the cells. Finally, they open the cells, and I can't get to the phone as we're having a meeting. I'm like, oh my God, like I needed to make a phone call. And this lady's like, hey, like we're having a meeting now about table manners, and you can't be touching food on other people's plates. And there was an incident the day before.
These are all prisoners?
Yes, and not only is that like, well, okay, that's, I guess, a valuable lesson, but I think you're talking to the wrong people. But then people were talking, and she's like, I'll wait till everybody will pay attention. I'm like, they have time. I don't care how you guys do dinner. I don't want to be here for it. Like, but yeah, the ketchup sandwich was not great. That lady did give me...
It's nice that you don't eat meat, but you eat ketchup. Okay. Okay, we'll talk about that another time because you went through a thing.
There was nothing else. She gave me a Fireball candy, and I don't really love Fireballs, but I was like, thank you. This is going to get me through the day. And I was eating it. She's like, they're better if you smash it on the ground so that they're sweet and hot at the same time. And I was like, someday I'm going to tell somebody I learned this in prison.
A real Martha Stewart move.
So that's what I got out of it. How to eat Fireballs.
Would you be nervous after that when parking in a Walmart parking lot? Do you not smoke in your car deliberately? You know what I mean?
Yeah. No,
okay, right. You still got to live.
Yeah, well, that's my house. So I've learned a lot about it for sure. I do still smoke in my car sometimes.
Are there laws like because it's technically your house, a cop has to take their shoes off? Are there...
No, if you're in a public place like a Walmart and you're in your car, you have no rights.
Okay.
What?
Yeah, it's public property, and they got me for intent to operate under the influence, not driving, but intent to operate. And I'm like, there's T-shirts. If I could have afforded a trial, I could have proven. I never take pictures, but I took pictures of my car that night with T-shirts on all the windows. Like, I absolutely intended to sleep, but I couldn't afford to, like, be in Tulsa and pay for a trial. So I had to plead guilty to get a deal and get it off my record.
What was the deal? 3,500.
The deal is like the 3,500 includes what I paid my lawyer, and like then it's like $400 for my charges plus fees, which means $900 because they just plus fees. And I asked for a receipt, and they looked at me like I was crazy. I'm like, can I see what this is? And so then there's another $500 I have to give for my non-probation probation, and
That's
I had to do
great addition.
a drug class assessment, which I passed.
Oh yeah, how'd you do that? Because you know about drugs. Are you the one who's supposed to take the class?
Who failed?
I said I passed it with flying colors, but that might have been the LSD. Yeah, I passed that, and then I have to take a victims impact panel, which
What
is
that?
like talking to people who have lost people in drunk driving accidents, which I'm like, well, awesome, but I didn't hurt anybody. And
Wow.
Do you have to keep biting your tongue, like you're ready to roll your eyes, but you're like, no, I have to act like I'm
you have to be
taking
in.
this
Oh, you
in?
can flunk it for sure.
Yeah.
Like you have to like pass it.
Yeah, like, do you keep going?
Also, I found out that, so luckily they didn't come for my license, but with Oklahoma law, if they had come for my license, the only thing I could have done is pay to have a breathalyzer installed in my car, which is hilarious because my blood test showed no alcohol.
Right.
But that's how they deal with things there. So it would have just more money.
With me, I had to go to court for whatever it was. I jumped the turnstile, but they said I had an old warrant that they figured out because I jumped the turnstile. They didn't tell
What?
me for what. So when I finally got in front of a judge, she was like, okay, well, do you have insurance now? And I'm like, the fuck are you talking about? But I didn't say that because she's a fucking cop. Not a cop, but, you know.
A judge.
Yeah, a judge.
right.
And so she's like, well, this says that you were driving, you don't have insurance for your car. And I'm like, I don't have a car. Like, I don't own a car. I don't have a car. I'm
Taking the
not.
train, like jumping a turnstile.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
do I have insurance for?
And so she looked at the lawyer, and the lawyer's like, she doesn't have a car. And it's just like the guy that is. And she goes, okay, you're out of here. And I left the building so quickly. I was like, okay, I'm free. Like it felt like I was free. Like they just opened a jail cell, even though I
Yeah.
wasn't in jail. I went home. I had to come back to this. When I got out, as soon as I got out, I was like, no, I didn't fight the system. Like I was so like, I'm out of here. And then I was like, no, what do you mean I got arrested? Like I should have been like,
Oh,
do
there's
you
no
s-
fighting
Do you
the
see the
system.
problem? I at least wanted to be like, ma'am, do you see that I got arrested for this? That this is, like, can I
Yeah.
have a word? And even
Oh, I would love to be like, oh, I was sleeping in a parking lot because I'm on this crazy idea that if I can make people laugh, even for a few minutes, it might help the world in some way. And I was doing an open mic because it was in Tulsa on a Monday, and I just figured I would, sleep in my car as it was free and not stay on a man's couch who I don't know that well. And anyway, you'd think that I could say any of that context, but I just, yes, Your Honor.
right,
You're
you're just like in this place, like it feels like you're walking with a prison cell around you, and you're just kind of like it's just following you, and they won't open it until you keep going. Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
No, it feels
Of
horrible.
course, I'll sit over here. Oh, now it's time to stand over here. Yes, sir. You
and
know,
like you're somebody obviously that's not a criminal, and you're somebody that's like, I can see like when you're in that place, when you're in that room with all these other people that are maybe not even started out as criminals, but now stuck in this pattern.
have been criminalized.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really weird, and yeah, you just want to get out of there because the whole room feels like it's closing in on you, and you like, I mean, it's
If you
just
say the wrong
horrible.
word, they could be like, well, we got you on this.
Oh, they get you when you're leaving jail. And like there was a lady that was there next to me. I felt so bad for her because they let you get your clothes back on and all this stuff. And then you have to go to like the exit meeting or whatever it is. And you think you're out of there, but they can send you right back.
They sent her back?
Mm-hmm.
For what?
And we were sitting there, and you have to be like on good behavior while you're waiting to see them. And so people are like shaking their leg like there's no tomorrow. I've been in jail all night. I cannot wait to get in there and get out of there. But you have to just be respectful and quiet. People around me are like talking. I'm like, I wouldn't do that if I were you.
But what didn't they like about this person?
I don't know, but she went in there and she came out, and they told her that she had to go to, like, they were transferring her to another. She thought she was leaving, and they were just transferring her, But she's also, if that happened to me, I'd be like a mess on the floor. She's in the system. So she's like, well, maybe my friends will be at that jail,
Fuck.
Do you despise cops more, the same as you always did?
I'm weird around them now. I did get pulled over in the Grand Canyon like a month later, And I needed that because, oh my gosh,
What do you mean?
like so much anxiety anytime I saw cops, like debilitating almost. Like
Okay.
I've never been a very anxious person, but anytime I saw police officers, I'd be terrified with, even if I didn't have anything on me or whatever. And then I was in the Grand Canyon and I just like took a wrong turn and it was at night and I was looking for like mapping out where I would go to see the sunrise. And
Criminal.
yeah, these cops, like they just knew I made a wrong turn. So they were like, pulled me over and I was like,
Wait, was it a wrong turn on a one way or something?
they just thought it was suspicious. Like my driving was suspicious
Wow.
because I made a wrong turn and I like and I like backed around, like spun around and went back the other way. The street was like empty, you know? And then they pulled me over in a parking lot and yeah.
Oh, there you are in a parking lot again.
Yeah. Oh, it was just terrifying. But then they were nice and, you know, they found out I did comedy and they liked that. And
Did they make you perform?
no, but I mean, in that moment, I would have like
Right.
cried. Is this funny? I mean, I'm like shaking and trying not to show. Yeah, sure. Look at my ID. Everything's totally super kosher cool. Yeah, luckily they were just nice. Like, okay, here's how you get out of here.
And you're saying that made you feel better about cops a little bit?
Yeah, it kind of took the sting off of seeing cops because I'm like, okay, if nothing's wrong, it can be fine. Like,
Yeah.
you know,
Well, what was interesting when I told my arrest story, I was like, here's what the inside of a jail cell looks like. It looks like it hasn't been cleaned in a decade at least, you know,
Yeah.
and just the way they interact with you, like all this stuff, the same thing that you're talking about. And I got yelled at like, well, imagine if you're black and imagine if this, and I'm like, I am saying all of this.
yeah.
And well, you came from a privileged place. I'm like,
I'm saying
yeah.
it's dehumanizing and it's not okay.
Yeah,
And
I'm not
yeah.
saying like precious me didn't get out of jail. I'm saying
Yeah.
our system is fucked.
Yeah.
Not just for me. But
Right.
that was just weird, like people yelling back like, well, you don't have to blah blah blah. I'm like, I know that. I'm not a victim of anything but what happened and what I said.
I'm reading a story in the newspaper about a man that just got out of jail, wrongfully put in jail.
yeah.
I'll tell you the story. 24 years.
Oh my God.
Now, if you don't get anything, you deserve at least $1 million a year. That's what I think.
Hearing
give you
especially
that.
stories about like solitary confinement too, like some people get like put in, I don't know this guy's story, but I mean, yeah, like you're damaging somebody's whole life and from the inside, who they are
Yeah.
inside.
A Manhattan man who was wrongfully convicted thanks to crooked cop and lying witnesses.
That especially.
That's especially
you know
a
when they
problem,
like
yeah.
when it happens when it's like you were at the wrong place, all evidence points to you, and it's like it's a big fuck up, and you're still fucked with your life. But it's like, no, we wanted to put you in jail, and we were cool with it.
Right. 24 years for a fatal shooting he didn't commit. Quote, it was so difficult for me to be in prison for so many years when I knew the case against me was totally fabricated. He's 47 years old now. So that means he was 23 years old.
So that's his whole life.
How long's he been out now?
He just got out.
Because I worry about him now because being in the system for that long and then, yeah.
Pablo Fernandez. I survived because of my faith in God. Well, God waited
Well,
24
also because
years.
it's the only book in there.
Right. There's your right. There's your free will, right?
Yeah. You better love God, because that's all we're going to give you.
My family and my lawyers never stopped believing in my innocence, so that had to be pricey. It was 1995, and Fernandez was just 22 when he was charged in the 1993 murder-for-hire slaying of a gang leader, Manny Quintero, 18, on a crowded Harlem street. He was convicted in 1996, handed 25 years to life sentence. So he almost finished the sentence.
Wow.
He had a year to go.
How'd they find out?
A lengthy appeals process played out. Witnesses and cooperators began to recant. So he had a lawyer that he's paying for, not a public defender, and people are following up on these witnesses, and they're saying, yeah, actually, I don't think I saw him.
Fucking
That's so
seriously,
crazy.
you could just sleep at night.
Yeah. A court finally overturned the conviction in February after issuing a ruling related to the recantation of key witnesses who said that they were coerced by the NYPD to finger this guy.
Okay, so
Kinky.
that that's really scary when
Yeah.
the cops are like, you need to say this, because
I
you know,
mean,
it's like we're saying, you know, you just kind of go yes or no, sir, and would you be so surprised if the cops were like, you or him?
Plus,
you know?
I want to believe everybody could be a good person when I first meet them, cop or otherwise. I want to hope that people are good people with good intentions. But then you hear stuff like that, or I just found out that one of my friends in Chicago had a horrible thing happen to him years ago with the police, where they basically like assaulted him in his own home because they thought he was an intruder and it was his house, and like messed him up bad. And
He
you
just
know,
took it.
Yeah.
well, he was, he took his own life a couple years ago, or last year, actually.
shit.
And I think that it's because of that whole thing. It was like near the anniversary of when that had happened to him. And like, he didn't even spend much time in jail. But this guy, 24 years in jail, like, how do you even live a regular life after the abuse of being in that system?
Well, this is what I just read. A court finally overturned a conviction in February. He got out in September. What's taking so long?
Oh.
Paperwork. Any day now, though. After the conviction was overturned, the DA insisted that the case was strong and that prosecutors would retry it. But finally, in September, so between February and September, they're like, no, I think let's still not be embarrassed. Let's see if we can ride this out to another year, right?
Well, meanwhile, I assume that he knows, and now he's just waiting. But then you're in jail with the knowledge, that you're leaving, and I wonder if his cellmates or people there know you're leaving.
Right.
Oh,
I
that
feel
can't
like,
be easy.
right? I feel like they start kind of turning against you.
They would, yes, his cellmates would absolutely know, because word gets to the correction officers, and correction officers like to be cool and they like to be in the know. They're like bad teachers, teachers that hang out with the cool kids and treat them better because it's their second go. You know
Well,
what I
the
mean?
thing about being in that system too, if you're in jail for 24 years, obviously you've made whatever connections and friends and earned enough like credit or respect around
to stay alive.
the local population. Yeah, the Gen Pop, that you stay alive. But that's the thing with jail, is that there's always new wild cards coming in pretty regularly, and you have to like, I don't know.
You know what's interesting is that we know all of this, not because we really spent time in jail. I know Keith was arrested. He spent a couple months in jail, and, we spent a night, but we knew all this stuff from movies, movies that tell you how we treat people in jail. And everyone is just completely comfortable. Every fucking movie and TV show that we see that somebody goes to jail, there's rape or attempted rape, there's murder or attempted murder, there's gang violence, there's just all this stuff. And we're telling the story of the things that's happening, and the government goes, more cheese?
Well, yeah, or they let people privatize them, and then it turns into a whole other corrupt system of like the level.
But you know it. The thing is, my thing is, it's not that you don't know it and you
Right.
don't have the capacity to change it. You fucking know it. You can't claim ignorance on this because we know it as citizens who are not part of the system or not even near it.
Well, that comes back to like political stuff too, where I think some people that choose to support this administration have to block out so much of other people's reality. Like they can't afford the empathy it takes to actually tune in to what other people are dealing with in bad situations.
Well, yeah, my parents would be like, why are you smoking weed?
Right.
You couldn't wait to get out of this state where they say in this state you're not allowed to smoke weed, and there's a lack of empathy because you criminalized yourself, and it's like, okay, well, smoke a little weed and then come back and tell me if I should be arrested.
Right. A government cooperator who is now gravely ill told jurors at the time that he was hanging out with Fernandez in the days before the murder and claimed Fernandez confessed after the killing. But prosecutors recently discovered that this person was serving time in an upstate prison 6 hours from New York. So slowly they started figuring out all these witnesses were lying or forced to lie. Wow. Another cooperator recanted. 3 eyewitnesses also recanted.
So much gets lost when it comes to communication because of the system and the paperwork and all the policies and the way things have to go. Like if people had a way that they could actually just communicate, like, okay, like here's me and here's my deal, but that's not even how it is. Like you just said, you're in front of the judge. You can't tell that judge who you are. You have to say 3 words, and they better be showing remorse and the right words, and
Right.
You better be calm as fuck.
Yeah, and there's no context given. It's just like, okay, letter of the law broken, and that's it. And this guy has all the evidence he needs to get out of there, but who's communicating outside of jail? Nobody.
Right.
It
It was such a blessing, he says, for my mother, who's 83 years old, to see me as a free man again. $1 million a year, no exaggeration.
Well,
That's
how
what
much
I
is
say.
he getting?
I don't know.
Well, especially after seeing like the 13th on Netflix and all that stuff, like
Yep.
knowing about how it's like they really did just, find a way to keep slavery in this country is really what so much of that is about. So as has a white lady in there, it's like, am I going to say like, I'm being treated unfairly? Yeah, I am. But that's obviously not like the big problem here. Like everybody in here is being treated unfairly and profiled and in here more likely than I am.
But I do think it's helpful to be like, I was mistreated, because it doesn't matter. Everyone's being mistreated, including me.
Yeah, I
So,
see it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh boy. But yeah, so been a pretty fun year.
So would you recommend doing this lifestyle?
Yeah, I mean, it's working for me. I don't think that I think that I've gotten to a place where I just kind of like being on my own anyway. And also, I'll say on a positive like way to turn it around, since that landmark thing was about like self-help and healing, or at least questioning people's methods for it.
Right. Right.
I've been really trying to focus on, staying positive and strong and all the good things, and doing chakra work, which is a vague way of saying watching YouTube videos, but trying to, I don't know, grow through these things that happen and like learn from them and focus on like the things that you can take away from them, instead of like the paying off Tulsa feeling of it all. So
How long did they give you to pay that off?
I have a year, and I'll get it done by the end of the year, I think. And I feel sometimes a little Rome sick, which is not homesick, but like just a little out to sea, out to drift a little too hard on this road life thing. And I get down sometimes, but I have to remember that I'm like paying off all of my bills and all my court fees with comedy earnings. So that's worth celebrating. And
You hear that, everybody? If you want to be a stand-up, you just have to have no home, and it'll add up. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, give up your apartment and get a life.
By the
Out
way,
on the road with the air. You
Get
saw
rid of
the
a
world.
life and get one,
if you join Landmark under my name, they'll tell me I was a good boy. So if you can do that for me, it feels so good.
They still call
just
you,
tell
don't
you?
they?
They still call me.
You
Yeah.
get a phone call, you're a good boy.
Aw.
Click. If you really want, I'll just message you. Like, I won't say when, but let's just say like once a month. I'll just let you know you're a good boy.
Thank you.
You won't know when it's coming.
Please don't encourage him.
Yeah, no pun. They play that good cop, bad cop. Listen to that Landmark show if you haven't. I think it's very interesting. Reena Calm, you can follow online. Twitter and Instagram is at Reena Calm, and the website is reenacalm.com. We're doing 4 episodes this week, so if you need more, remember our other podcast, My Opening Line, where we talk to artists about their very first times performing, what kept them going, and this latest one is with my girlfriend, Kyla Casio.
And it really, I mean, you just heard a story about a homeless person who gets arrested and is now paying off Tulsa. So why do they continue?
Never been happier.
I super believe you. My opening line is just about those tragedies, and why they came out good, we don't know, but we asked them all the questions.
Right. We just recorded another Keith and the Girl wrap-up show. This week, Bianca is back, and she shares why she wasn't with us last week, why Andrea had to take over. And we think it's great, and we think it's important to hear. So if you're still not a Keith and the Girl VIP member.
My goodness.
Well, first of all, shame on you. Second, you need to hear this, and frankly, every last week episode. If you don't have VIP yet, use code CANCER to get a free month and listen to the latest that's right, you heard me, and listen to the latest last week on Keith and the Girl with Bianca, plus so many spin-off shows. So code CANCER, it'll only be available until the end of the week, so check out keithandthegirl.com/VIP now. And Reena, so good to see you again.
Oh, good to see you. Thanks for having me.
Out and about and free.
Yeah, free and wild.
If you see a car with T-shirts on it, honk and say hello.
No, I've upgraded. I've got Reflectix window covers that I made and hurt my hands on. It's a really comfortable bed in there, just,
You are very convincing. I have just changed my lifestyle because of you. And you know what? I've never been so positive in my life. Thanks for stopping by, you guys. Thanks for listening and spreading the word. I want to say you can't make this up. You can, but it won't be this funny.